Your
or
Honor.
its liquidation? Kasi nandito eh. Ang nakalagay dito, if may read, we respond to each finding in the AOM in Syria team. Kalagay, the submitted liquidation reports with their supporting documents. You're already speaking of liquidation reports, and still you deny you do not know?
Your
Baka
Honor,
mapikon ako iha eh.
respectfully, Your Honor, I am not, I wouldn't want that, Your Honor. The letter was prepared, as mentioned earlier, by Mr. Ortonio, and he presented the attachments to the same. As a matter of course, Your Honor, I took a look at it, looked at the attachments, and then saw it correct in form. And because all external communications have to be signed by the highest official in the Office of the Vice President, I signed off. It was a matter of course, Your Honor, on my end. In the same manner...
So when you say matter of course, Madam, you said it's ministerial on your part?
Your Honor, if I may, Mr. Chair, even in the regular audit, when we have AOMs, these are...
Ma'am, you have to be reminded that you are under oath.
Yes, I know that. Your Honor, even for the matter of regular audit, these items are prepared by the finance cluster. And on my end, Your Honor, I review the attachments and the explanations, and then I sign off on it also. So it is really, that is, Sir Acop, what I meant by it's a matter of course. It is something that I sign off on, provided in form, it's already the proper attachments and the explanations are there.
Now, may I ask, can you explain to me that when we investigate the use of confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, you are of the position that the subject subpoena violates the constitutional principle of separation of powers? Could you please educate me? How did we violate the principle of separation of powers? Nandito po sa sulat po ninyo, pinirmahan ninyo.
Your Honor, may I read the letter in total? Yes. For the record, it says, the principle of separation of powers is violated when one branch of government unduly encroaches in the domain of another. Jurisprudence provides that there are only two ways to violate the subject principle, namely, by impermissible interference with another department's performance and by assumption of another department's functions. Here, it is clear that the subpoena was not issued in aid of legislation and thus...
Do you believe that public officers occupy a public trust?
Yes, Your Honor, that is enshrined in the Constitution.
Section 1, Article 11 of the Constitution. Tama?
Yes.
Yes. Now, would you also agree with me that the impassivity of the public officers and employees to attend congressional inquiries of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability gives rise to a betrayal of public trust, considering that they are avoiding public accountability through inquiry by duly elected representatives? Would you believe that? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Your Honor, may I be allowed to...
Yes or no? I am asking if you believe it or not.
Your Honor...
You do not believe it?
No, in the sense that it is not a betrayal of public trust, exactly, Your Honor. Because the decision to attend the hearing, Your Honor, is a personal one.
No, because you are compelled if we issue a subpoena. It's not personal. Would you agree with that also?
Yes, Your Honor, because if it's a subpoena, it becomes coercive.
Yes.
But in the end, respectfully, if it is an invitation, there is also a right on the end of the invitee to decline.
I agree. But the end of that is that we can issue a subpoena
Yes. that
in
is
order
correct.
to force you to attend these hearings. Tama.
Yes, Your Honor.
O in that case, if you are forced to attend hearings and you do not attend, would that not also constitute a betrayal of public trust? Following your logic,
Your Honor,
pakisagot lang po na yes or no. Yung katanungan ko po, yes or no eh. There's no need for any explanation unless I ask for one.
it could be, Your Honor, yes.
Thank you. Would you agree also with me that public officers must uphold public interest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And part and parcel of the duties and responsibilities of public officers is to give due regard to the lawful processes of a co-equal branch of government.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And the impassivity of the public officers and employees to attend the congressional inquiries of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability gives rise to a betrayal of public trust, considering that their continued absence interfere with the actions and mandate of this committee, just like your two people, the special dispersing officers in the persons of Madam Gina Acosta and Madam Sunshine Fajarda. Would you agree with that also?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank
It is
you.
a possibility, yes.
And therefore, being the boss, you are also obliged to see to it that they perform this duty.
Yes, Your Honor, I
And
hear
therefore, we expect na pagsabihan mo sila
Apo.
na umattend dito sa hearing na ito. That's part of your duty.
that. Respectfully, Your Honor, that was my commitment earlier, that I will endeavor to bring them to the next hearing.
Thank you. And I think you will also believe that public officers are sworn to uphold the Constitution. Tama?
Yes, Your Honor.
And public officers have sworn to uphold the Constitution and have violated their oath by preventing Congress from lawfully exercising its own mandate under Section 21, Article 6 of the Constitution to conduct inquiries in aid of legislation. Would you agree with that also?
Sir, respectfully, may you please repeat that particular question lang, this one, and the phrase that you refer to?
Yes. Public officers are sworn to uphold the Constitution.
Yes.
Yes. Public officers have sworn to uphold the Constitution and would have violated their oath by preventing Congress from lawfully exercising its mandate under Section 21, Article 6 of the Constitution to conduct inquiries in aid of legislation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
If you, Your Honor, may I seek to qualify my answer as regards the last question?
Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Your Honor,
please.
Sa
Mr. Chair.
akin, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay. In this case, Your Honor, preventing or aggressive defiance, Your Honor, that might constitute as such. But if there is a valid reason on the end of the person, that might be considered. But again, aggressive and continued defiance without justification or reason, Your Honor, that may be taken as such.
Congressman Acop.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But you will also believe that the queries of members of the committee remain and will remain unanswered if the responsible public officers or employees fail to elucidate on the subject issues by their continued absence. And the conspicuous absence of these public officers and employees of the Office of the Vice President causes immediate or threatened injury to the powers of this committee granted under the Constitution. Would you agree with that also?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Chair, dahil po sa ginagawa ng mga tauhan under Attorney Lopez and under the Office of the Vice President, I believe that we can file administrative cases against the non-attending public officers and employees of the OVP before the Office of the Ombudsman. That is my point of view and my stand, Mr. Chair. Kasi they can be charged for misconduct and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of the service as a cause of action. Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I proceed?
Please continue.
Thank you. Clarificatory questions. Attorney Lopez, you are the Chief of Staff and Undersecretary under the Office of the Vice President. As such, you are the number 2 insofar as the OVP is concerned.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And all those people under the Office of the
Vice President.
Vice President, kayo po ang tinitingnan na mataas maliban kay Vice President.
Yes, after the Vice President.
Yes. Being the Chief of Staff, kami po, ako, galing sa militar, galing sa pulis, yung mga iba, may mga opisina, meron silang mga Chief of Staff. And everybody of us will say na yung Chief of Staff ang nakakaalam lahat ng operations na kanilang opisina. Would you agree with that?
In my experience, Your Honor, that does not hold true. So I cannot agree to that
How long have you
statement.
been in the government service?
More than 10 years, Your Honor.
10 years. Ako, more than 4 decades.
I hear.
At ang pagkaalam ko, yung Chief of Staff is the most knowledgeable among the staff of a head of office.
In most cases, Your Honor, yes. That
So
is
you're the
correct.
only exception?
No, Your Honor, it is only in this matter that I am not privy to.
You're not privy on what matter?
The matter of confidential funds in the...
You're lying, Madam Attorney, simply because the letters that you wrote to COA would belie your statement. Kasi alam mo eh. If you read intently the contents of your letters, alam mo. How can you explain yung AOM?
Respectfully, Your Honor, Mr.
Kayo
Chair,
po ang nakapirma doon.
ako po
And
yung...
would you say na pumirma ka na hindi mo alam yung nandun? Are you trying to tell me that, being a lawyer?
Your Honor, the documents, the attachments, as regards the answer to the AOM was presented and prepared by Mr. Ortonio. It is not incumbent upon me to double-check or to review such documents, Your Honor. My role in the
Pero
Office of the
ikaw ang
Vice...
pumirma.
Office of the
Di
Vice...
ba, sa bilang abogado, ang sabi nga sa law school, di ba, sa inyo, bago mo pirmahan yung iyong death warrant, basahin mo muna.
Opo.
Di ba?
Yes, Your Honor. I simply checked, Your Honor, the form. Ano po yung attachments
Ikaw naman,
and the
attorney.
explanation. Your Honor, respectfully, Mr. Chair, I have also mentioned this earlier when in the question of Congressman Adjong, Congressman Zia, I mentioned that the matter of disbursement, utilization of the confidential fund, that is the matter that I am not really privy to. But in the matter of explaining, for example, issuing external communications to a government agency such as the Commission on Audit as the highest official in the OVP, Your Honor, I sign off on all the documents. That is one of my role and
And what is the significance of your signature?
that it has been
Di ba
reviewed.
dapat dun is alam mo yung bagay na yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Ikaw naman, oh. Kasi hindi ka pwedeng, attorney, hindi ka pwedeng pipirma sa isang na hindi mo babasahin. That is your training as a lawyer. You cannot depart from that. Yes.
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, as mentioned earlier, I signed it as a matter of course as the head of the agency for that external communication. Subject, of course, to the attachments that were included and the explanations made, Your Honor.
I think you better change that, madam. Dahil one day you might be signing your death warrant when you do not read it. Di ba posible po yun?
Yun po, I can only speak for that, my experience, Your Honor. That was exactly what happened in that letter.
Thank you. How long have you been working with Mr. Ortonio and Madam Acosta?
Mr. Ortonio was a colleague also in the city government, Your Honor, of Davao.
How about Madam Acosta?
Also one of the employees of the local government unit.
So matagal na kayo magkasama. And how long would that be?
More than 10 years, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Oh. Doon sa 10 years na yon, mas mataas ba sila sa iyo o mas mataas ka pa rin sa kanila?
Mr. Ortonio was a city department head also, Your Honor, which had the same rank as me. But Ms. Gina Acosta is one of the employees.
But you were the
senior.
city administrator then.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you know everybody. You know what is going on in the local government unit that you belong to, right?
I know a lot of, not everything, Your Honor.
It is expected of the city administrator to know the operations of the local government unit, especially the branches or the offices under that unit.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Alam ko naman na maaaring hindi mo alam lahat, but it is expected of you, being the city administrator, alam mo dapat ang mga yon. Right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, doon sa confidential fund, do you know of its existence in your office? Kasi kanina, dinidinay mo parang wala kang kaalam-alam eh. But do you know the existence of a confidential fund in your office?
Yes, Your Honor. It is part of our budget.
Hindi. Yung 2022, did you know that?
2022, Your Honor?
Yes, yung
Yes.
125.
Yes.
Yes, you know it. How did you come to know about it?
Your Honor, it was part of the recommendation, the request that we made to the Department of Budget and Management.
Sino po ang gumawa ng sulat na yun?
The letter was signed by the head of agency, Your Honor.
So it's the head of agency ang gumawa. Hindi mo sinasagot yung tanong ko. Yung tanong ko is, if you understood it properly, sino po ang gumawa ng sulat na yun? Yun ang tanong ko eh.
Attorney Lopez,
Are you trying to tell me that
please be responsive to the question.
Are you trying to tell me that the Vice President was the one who prepared that letter?
No, Your Honor. We drafted the letter for consideration of the Vice President. We included therein all the other requests that we needed from the Department of Budget and Management. It is
So
a request.
you know something about confidential funds.
The request, Your Honor, yes.
Ano naman, the request of the confidential fund. Well, yung confidential fund per se, hindi mo alam?
Your Honor, as mentioned earlier in the interpellation of Mr. Zia Diong, only the disbursement, utilization These are matters that I am not privy to. But in the request for the budget that included the confidential fund, we drafted that letter, Your Honor.
Kasi in your letter to COA na pinirmahan ninyo ni Mr. Ortonio, detalyadong-detalyado eh. It pertains to yung liquidation reports insofar as the confidential funds are concerned. And yet you're telling us you do not know anything about its utilization, but you can answer the AOMs of COA. Specific na po yun, yung mga observations ng COA. Now, I cannot believe that you do not know anything about its disbursement
Your
or
Honor.
its liquidation. Kasi nandito eh. Ang nakalagay dito, if may read, we respond to each finding in the AOM in Syria team. Kalagay, the submitted liquidation reports with their supporting documents. You're already speaking of liquidation reports. And still you deny, you do not know?
Your
Baka
Honor,
mapikon ako iha eh.
respectfully, Your Honor, I am not, I wouldn't want that, Your Honor. The letter was prepared, as mentioned earlier, by Mr. Ortonio, and he presented the attachments to the same. As a matter of course, Your Honor, I took a look at it, looked at the attachments, and then saw it correct in form. And because all external communications have to be signed by the highest official in the Office of the Vice President, I signed off. It was a matter of course, Your Honor, on my end. In the same manner,
So when you say matter of course, Madam, you said it's ministerial on your part?
Your Honor, if I may, Mr. Chair, even in the regular audit, when we have AOMs, these are,
Ma'am, you have to be reminded that you are under oath.
yes, I know that. Your Honor, even for the matter of regular audit, these items are prepared by the finance cluster. And on my end, Your Honor, I review the attachments and the explanations, and then I sign off on it also. So it is really, that is, Sir Acop, what I meant by it's a matter of course. It is something that I sign off on, provided in form, it's already the proper attachments and the explanations are there. But as to whether how it was liquidated and how it was disbursed, I have no direct knowledge, Your Honor. It is simply a paper review on my end.
I'm amazed, Attorney Lopez. Kasi ang tingin ko sa mga abogado meticulous sila, binabasa. Pero on your part, working as the Chief of Staff, hindi ka naging meticulous. Anyway, I'll go to another topic. I will refer to your letter to the Honorable Gamaliel Cordoba, 21 August 2024. I think you already saw this letter and, shall we say, state to the committee that you signed. This signature is yours, right?
Your Honor.
Now, when you signed this letter, kayo po ang gumawa?
Your Honor, this matter was,
Pakisagot lang po yung tanong ko. Kayo po ang gumawa?
hindi po, Your
Hindi.
Honor.
So, sino po ang gumawa nito?
It was drafted by Mr. Lemuel Ortonio.
Is Mr. Lemuel Ortonio a lawyer?
No, Your Honor, he's
No.
not.
And you read this letter?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you agreed with all the contents of this letter?
That was our position, Your Honor. It was a shared.
No,
Yes.
you answer my
Yes.
question. Now, may I ask, Can you explain to me that when we investigate the use of confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, you are of the position that the subject subpoena violates the constitutional principle of separation of powers? Could you please educate me? How did we violate the principle of separation of powers? Nandito po sa sulat po ninyo, pinirmahan ninyo.
Your Honor, may I read the letter in toto? Yes. For the record, it says, the principle of separation of powers is violated when one branch of government unduly encroaches in the domain of another. Jurisprudence provides that there are only two ways to violate the subject principle, namely, by impermissible interference with another department's performance and by assumption of another department's functions. Here, it is clear that the subpoena was not issued in aid of legislation and thus exceeds the legislative power of inquiry, and its issuance impermissibly interferes with the exclusive functions of the Commission on Audit and infringes upon the independence of the Commission. And then, first, Congress has no power to participate or otherwise take part in any audit process. Obtaining any information in a pending audit clearly does not serve a legislative purpose of drafting or remedying legislation. Second, the audit decisions which the committee seeks to obtain are in cases still pending adjudication and therefore not final, not conclusive, and cannot be used as a fair, accurate, or intelligent basis for legislation. Third, COA has already published its annual audit reports for fiscal year 2022 and 2023, which are specifically intended to aid the executive and legislative departments in crafting responsive laws and regulations. Fourth, the only purpose mentioned is to expose to the public the use of confidential funds by the offices headed by the Vice President and purportedly whether such use follow the guidelines. During the subject hearing, Representative Castro stated, since hindi po pwedeng sabihin dito yung findings, yung report o yung anumang observations ng COA, ang mga taong bayan po interesado dito sa confidential funds at kung paano ito ginamit, kung ito po ba ay sumunod dun sa guidelines. Also, as reported in the media, Representative Castro has been known to say that the Vice President has not yet satisfactorily explained the OVP spending of confidential funds in 2022. She added that the VP still has yet to account how she spent the said funds in 2023 and that she is not off the hook yet, end of quote. This is not related to any legislative purpose. There is no congressional power to expose for the sake of exposure. The determination of whether the utilization of the funds complied with audit guidelines falls within the exclusive mandate of the Commission on Audit. It cannot be overemphasized that COA has the exclusive power, authority, and duty to examine, audit, and settle all accounts pertaining to the revenue and receipts of, and expenditures or uses of funds and property. Constitutional framers envision the COA as a dynamic, effective, efficient, and independent watchdog of the government, and for this reason conferred upon it broad and extensive powers. Allowing a committee of the House of Representatives to subpoena audit decisions pertaining to an ongoing audit will only hamper the COA's performance of its duties. On the other hand, the determination as to the legality of confidential funds solely falls within the exclusive mandate of the judiciary. Clearly, therefore, Congress cannot infringe upon constitutional mandates vested upon other branches of the government. Item 2, the enforcement of the subject subpoena
No. Let's stop there. So,
Okay.
yung tanong ko, please explain to me why the hearing conducted by this committee would violate the separation of powers. Yun po yung katanungan ko eh.
Opo. Your Honor,
You said COA is an independent body. Nandito nga sila, tinatanong namin eh. That is why I asked whether Mr. Ortonio is a lawyer or not. Believe nga ako eh. I'm amazed, Madam Attorney. Attorney ka, naniniwala ka dito sa sinabi ng isang hindi attorney.
Your Honor,
Di ba?
respectfully, this is the position of the agency.
Hindi ko tinatanong eh.
Oo.
Tinatanong ko lang eh.
Nan-
I am amazed, Madam Attorney, na naniniwala ka sa legal stance ng isang hindi attorney. Kaya, please answer my question. Where did we violate the separation of powers by conducting this legislative inquiry?
Your Honor,
Explain to me.
yes. There is currently an ongoing audit in the Office of the Vice President as regards the confidential funds. The power to conduct audit or investigate belongs to the Commission on Audit.
No argument about that.
Yes. That is why, Your Honor, we feel it is our position that given that the audit is still ongoing, it is not final, it is not yet conclusive, the release of said documents or information infringes on the right of the Commission on Audit to conduct a full-scale investigation, given that it is still pending. So that is our position, Your Honor. It is simply that. It is a request that we made to the Commission on Audit. It does not in any way, Your Honor, mean that we do not recognize the power of the Congress to conduct in aid of legislation. It's just the timing, because the audit is still being undertaken and it's not final and still not conclusive, Your Honor. Respectfully.
Chairman.
Congressman
Issue po to.
Paduano.
So, ma'am, kasi po, ang consent for the inquiry in aid of legislation doon sa Suprema is addressed to COA, not to your office. Tama?
Apo.
So, binigay sa amin ng COA. So, COA violates a law? So, by then, kasi logic dictates na COA dapat. Di ba? Kasi, hindi naman kami may isayo ng dokumento eh. Di ba? It's the COA.
Opo.
Now, COA give us the document. Now, so, did COA violate any law?
Your Honor, that is not for us to determine. We simply request
No,
that
no.
COA.
Now, kaya nga eh. Okay. Now, because that is your position, supposedly, legally, you have to file a case against COA. Did you file a case against COA?
No, Your Honor.
Oh.
It was just a letter request.
Because, no. Now, letter request. Now, COA give us the document.
Yes.
Sino ngayong tama? Kayo o yung Congress? O yung committee? Hindi, ma'am. Kasi ganito, abogada ka eh.
Apo.
Then, if you invoke this letter of yours with regards to possible violation of law, you should file a case.
Yes,
Di
Your
ba?
Honor.
But not in Congress. Sa COA. Because COA complied to the orders by this committee.
Yes.
Di ba? You're a lawyer. Di ba, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor. But in this case, Your Honor, we simply made a request to the Commission on Audit.
Hindi nga eh. But still you argue. Until now. A while ago, you stated that you still stand by your letter. Despite of the fact na sinagot na nga kita, in my committee, ang dami ko na pong in-order sa COA to conduct a fraud audit. Kahit wala pa pong ending nga, EUM pa lang. Because there is a basis to conduct a fraud audit. Now, question of, sinasabi mong dapat, question of legislation? Ma'am, attorney, don't you know na because of this investigation, we should pass a law with regards to confidential funds. Second, yung public funding law, that should be amended. Hindi pa ako tapos BTR. Dami tayong pag-usapan yan. Question of COA, Memorandum Circular ng 7-002, that should be also amended. At ilagay mismo sa mandate ng COA. Kasi ang daming misinterpretation doon. MC 97002, iba yung requirements. Pagdating doon sa BTR, tinatanggal yung ibang requirements. And the only way that we can resolve that issue and problem with regards to COA and BTR is to legislate law. A law. Specific provision of law na dapat malinaw. Ano ba talagang requirements doon sa mga cash advances and requirements for an SDO. Yun po, attorney. Kaya hindi nyo pwedeng sabihin na we're conducting this investigation not in aid of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, yes. Thank you also. I hear you.
May I continue, Mr. Chair?
Please continue, Congressman Acop.
Yung reason po ninyo is the principle of separation of powers is violated when one branch of government unduly encroaches on the domain of another. Period. Now, at what instance, pag-conduct namin ng hearing na ito, did we encroach on the domain of another branch of government?
Your Honor, in this case, Your Honor, as stated, the audit investigation is still ongoing. It would seem that if the documents would be provided to the end of Congress, it is as if Congress is also conducting an audit process.
We're not conducting an audit process.
Yes.
We're conducting an inquiry in aid of legislation pursuant to the Constitution.
Okay.
Now, tell me, wala pa kayong naipapakita sa akin na paano kami nag-i-encroach doon sa domain ng other branches of government. Show me.
Your
You
Honor,
must remember, attorney, that we have oversight functions over the budget of government. And part of that oversight function is the reason why we can conduct inquiry regarding the use. So that maybe we could change, for example, the joint circular of regarding the liquidation of confidential funds. Kayo, sa letter ninyo, presume na wala kami legislative intent. How can you do that? How can you presume that?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but during the time this letter was made, there was no draft legislation or there was no...
We can conduct legislative inquiry and the bill can be filed after the legislative inquiry.
Yes.
Kasi malicious kasi yung nasa utak ninyo .
Your Honor, respectfully.
Ano po?
Yes, our position, Your Honor, is just that hindi pa po tapos kasi yung audit investigation. Yun lang naman po. That's why we requested COA not to release it
Sige,
first.
please cite me a law which would say na yung ginawa po namin na dahil hindi pa tapos ang audit, hindi kami makapag-conduct ng legislative inquiry on the... Can you cite me a provision of law?
None at the moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
None
Kaya
at the
nga,
moment.
sabi ko, bakit ka naniwala sa isang hindi abogado? Now, may the enforcement of the subject subpoena will violate the office of the Vice President's right to due process. Could you explain that also to me? Para maintindihan ko.
Yes, Your Honor. But as a starting point, may I read the letter in toto? At least that provision only. If you may allow me, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. Okay. Item number 2, the enforcement of the subject subpoena will violate the Office of the Vice President's right to due process. First, enforcing the subpoena against the audit decision contravenes existing rules on the audit process. Disclosing the reports before the conclusion and finality of any audit is premature and will compromise the integrity of the final report. In fact, the Supreme Court has held that notices of disallowance may be released only to the parties having direct material interest, namely the auditor, the head of agency, and the officials directly affected by the said notices. This is to afford opportunity to appeal. Further, COA Circular Number 2013-006 also provides that except as to the status of cases, no information as to the action officer and or the probable disposition or decision of any case pending adjudication before any office of this commission shall be disclosed to any person. Violation hereof shall be the subject of administrative action provided under existing civil service laws. Second, the Office of the Vice President will be deprived of its right to an impartial tribunal and a fair and objective resolution of the cases. Public statements or discussions thereon by the committee or the Congress as a whole may unduly influence the bodies which are already handling the same or similar subject matters. Finally, it must be noted that there are no less than 3 cases on the subject confidential funds that are currently pending with the Supreme Court. Hence, compelled disclosure of the audit decisions may be violative of the sub judice rule, which restricts comments and disclosures pertaining to judicial proceedings. That was our second position, Your Honor, that it violates the subject subpoena will violate the due process, the right to due process of the Office of the Vice President.
What is what would be the elements of due process?
That there is
When can you say that a person is granted due process?
when he is informed, Your Honor, of his rights and
Hindi ba kayo na-inform? Enumerate mo yun, Iha. Tatanungin ko.
The right to due process, Your Honor, pertains to the fact that that a person is made aware of his rights, and if there is any complaint or wrong that he has done, he's also made aware of such, and he's given a chance and opportunity to explain.
Yun po ang pinaka-importante. Di po ba? Pero paano nga kayo makapag-i-explain if you do not, avail of the opportunity na mag-explain dito? Di ba? Yung mga tao nga ninyo, wala rito para mag-explain. And you say na the Vice President is deprived of an impartial tribunal. May conclusion na kayo kagad na impartial kami? Is that what you're trying to tell us, Madam Attorney?
No, Your Honor.
That is what your letter says.
We are merely saying, Your Honor, that the audit investigation is not final and not
Hindi
conclusive.
nga. Ang sinabi mo rito the office of the Vice President will be deprived of its right to an impartial tribunal. Your conclusion is impartial na kami Di ba? Right?
We are also burdened by the fact, Your Honor, that there are 3 pending cases before the Supreme
Now,
Court.
what are these 3 pending cases?
This is as regards the 125 million, Your Honor, funds, confidential funds. These are still pending with the Supreme Court.
So,
For that reason, Your Honor, following the sub judice rule, we feel that it is not.
ikaw nga. Ay, nako.
Attorney, question of sub judice, malinaw na yan, may Supreme Court ruling na yan, di ba? Di ba walang sub judice with regards to inquiry in aid of legislation. Di ba? Ang daming, andyan, may mga jurisprudence na yan. Di ba, do you confer? Di ba may mga ruling na yan ng Supreme Court with regards to sub judice?
Meron po, Your Honor.
O under sub judice cannot be applied in inquiry in aid of legislation. Malinaw yan.
And
Kaya nga ba?
additional,
Kaya nga sinasabi ko, Iha, sa'yo, bakit naniwala ka sa isang hindi abogada o abogado, ikaw ay abogado?
and additionally, Panyera, let me read Section 1 of Rules of Procedure governing inquiries in aid of legislation. Under paragraph 2, it provides that the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative purpose. So regardless, even assuming for the sake of argument that you are correct, na meron po kayong pending case, it will not stop Congress or this committee from conducting its inquiry in aid of legislative purpose.
I hear you, Your Honor.
Okay. Please continue, Congressman Acop.
Last issue, Mr. Chair. The subject subpoena may not be validly enforced due to the nature of confidential funds. What do you mean by this, Madam Attorney?
Again, may I read? Item 3, which is the last position. The subject subpoena may not be validly enforced due to the nature of confidential fund. A recognized restriction to the right of information is national security matters and intelligence information. There is governmental privilege against public disclosure with respect to state secrets regarding military, diplomatic, and other national security matters. As a matter of fact, Memorandum Circular Number 15, 2023 provides that a specific exception to the right of access to information is privileged information relating to national security, defense, or international relations. Moreover, Joint Circular Number 2015-01, or the Guidelines on the Entitlement, Release, Use, Reporting, and Audit of Confidential Funds, specifies that reports of national government agencies pertaining to the use of confidential funds are submitted specifically only to the President, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House. Acknowledging the highly sensitive nature of the information involved, the agencies deem it necessary to restrict access only to the enumerated officials and exclude the collegial bodies in which they belong. Finally, the COA rules explicitly provide that audit decisions may only be released to persons specifically enumerated thereunder the rules. The pertinent COA circulars likewise require the confidentiality of all information involved in cases pending adjudication. These confidentiality rules were put in place to ensure the observance of due process and to preserve and protect the information in pending audit cases. No valid and legitimate purpose has been forwarded to overcome the protections set forth under the Constitution and rules stated above. In view of the foregoing, this is where we respectfully urge the Honorable Commission to uphold the paramount confidentiality of the information being sought by the subpoena.
Are
Thank you.
you trying to tell us that Congress cannot look into how confidential funds or intelligent funds are spent?
No, Your Honor. Congress,
So, paano mo i-explain tong rason mo rito?
ang sinasabi lang naman po namin dito, Your Honor, is that in this case, hindi pa po conclusive and final yung audit investigation report.
Ay, yung nga yung tinanong ko sa iyo kanina, please tell me if there's a provision of law that prevents us from conducting inquiries in aid of legislation while the findings of COA are not yet final. Meron ba? Sinabi mo kanina, wala eh.
I cannot cite any particular
Then,
law, Your Honor.
you
But
have no basis then.
ang-
Or your writer, Mr. Ortonio, does not have any legal basis to state these things. Tama? You being a lawyer. Puro claims lang ito eh, pero wala kayong pinapakita na legal basis. Tama? First question ko pa lang eh, ano ang aspect ng national interest na naapektuhan nito? Galing po ako sa military eh. Wala akong makita na aspeto na it would affect our national security.
Our stand, Your Honor, is just extreme caution in discussing matters like this, given that it is still pending investigation. That is the reason why we drafted and requested the Commission on Audit, Your Honor. It was just a mere request and for the Commission on Audit to consider.
I will state again, Madam Chair, kayo po ay abogado, ako po ay nagtataka kung bakit naniwala kayo sa argumento na inilagay dito ng hindi isang abogado. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman,
Chair.
thank you.